What if I told you that one of the most successful CEOs in Silicon Valley spent 3 years fooling everyone into believing he was disabled, until one broke college student accidentally uncovered his million-dollar lie that would destroy his empire and change both their lives forever? This isn't just a story about deception. By the end of this video, you'll discover the shocking psychology behind why successful people fake their biggest vulnerabilities, the dark techniques Marcus Chen used to maintain his lie, and how one moment of genuine human connection exposed everything in the most unexpected way possible. Marcus Chen built his tech empire worth $2.8 billion while sitting in a wheelchair. For 3 years, investors, employees, and the media saw him as the inspiring disabled entrepreneur who overcame impossible odds. His company, Neuralink Solutions, dominated the artificial intelligence market, and his stock soared 400% partly because of his compelling backstory about rising above physical limitations after a devastating car accident. Magazine covers featured him as the unstoppable CEO. TED Talks showcased his journey from tragedy to triumph. Hollywood was developing a movie about his life. Marcus Chen wasn't just successful, he was America's most beloved business icon. But here's what nobody knew. Every morning at 5 a.m., Marcus would walk into his private garage, transfer from his BMW into that custom wheelchair, and begin his performance. Every single day for over 1,000 consecutive days. The deception started small, but grew into something monstrous. Why would someone fake being disabled? The psychology is darker than you think. Studies from Harvard Business School show that people with visible disabilities are perceived as 73% more trustworthy in business settings. They're also 45% more likely to receive funding from investors and 60% more likely to have their ideas taken seriously in boardroom meetings. Marcus weaponized society's sympathy and turned it into cold, hard profit. But maintaining this lie required an elaborate network of deception that would shock you. He had a team of consultants teaching him wheelchair etiquette. Dr. Patricia Williams, a former rehabilitation specialist, was paid $300,000 a year to coach Marcus on authentic disability behaviors. She taught him how to transfer properly, how to navigate different terrains, even how to fake muscle spasms that looked genuine. Marcus studied medical journals about spinal injuries for hours every night. He memorized symptoms, recovery timelines, and psychological impacts. He could discuss his fictional injury with doctors and never miss a beat. His knowledge was so detailed that medical professionals often complimented him on understanding his condition better than most patients. He even hired Michael Rodriguez, a former Paralympic athlete, to teach him advanced wheelchair techniques. Michael had no idea he was helping someone fake a disability. He thought he was inspiring a fellow disabled person to reach their athletic potential. This wasn't some casual lie. This was a methodically planned deception that cost Marcus over $800,000 annually to maintain. The company headquarters was completely wheelchair accessible, but not just legally compliant. It was perfectly designed. Every meeting room had lowered tables. Every elevator had voice commands. Every bathroom was spacious and equipped with grab bars. Marcus made sure his environment supported his lie flawlessly. His personal assistant, Jennifer Walsh, was paid an extra $75,000 a year just to help maintain the illusion. She scheduled his fake physical therapy appointments twice a week. She coordinated with 3 different medical professionals who were unknowingly part of the deception. They genuinely believed they were treating Marcus for his spinal injury. Jennifer even had a special phone with fake medical facilities programmed in, so if anyone ever called to verify his appointments, they'd reach real people who believed Marcus was their patient. But the most disturbing part? Marcus practiced his disability at home. He had a replica office built in his basement where he would rehearse presentations, practice maneuvering around obstacles, and perfect his performance. Security cameras captured him spending 3 to 4 hours every evening perfecting his act. Marcus even studied footage of real disabled individuals to copy their mannerisms. He watched documentaries, YouTube videos, and attended disability support groups, not for genuine understanding, but to steal authentic behaviors for his performance. The psychological toll was immense. But Marcus was addicted to the power his fake vulnerability gave him. Then came Sarah Martinez, a 21-year-old computer science student working 3 jobs just to pay for college. She cleaned office buildings at night to afford her textbooks. She delivered food during lunch breaks to pay rent. She tutored younger students on weekends to buy groceries. Sarah had been cleaning Neuralink Solutions offices for 8 months. She'd seen Marcus leave late many nights, always in that wheelchair, always struggling with the heavy doors despite the building's accessibility features. She felt genuine sympathy for him. Here was this powerful man who seemed so vulnerable when the cameras weren't rolling. Sarah often lingered a few extra minutes to hold doors open for him or clear pathways of obstacles. She never spoke to him. She was just a cleaning lady, invisible to someone of his status. But Sarah noticed things others missed. She saw how Marcus's wheelchair always looked spotless, never showing wear marks that heavy daily use would create. She noticed his hands never had the calluses that manual wheelchair users develop. His clothes never showed the subtle wrinkles that come from sitting all day. Most people wouldn't catch these details, but Sarah had grown up with a disabled younger brother. She knew what real disability looked like in everyday life. Still, she dismissed her suspicions. Who would fake something so serious? One night changed everything forever. Sarah was working her usual shift around 11 p.m. when she heard something strange coming from the executive parking garage. It sounded like footsteps, rhythmic, confident footsteps, but that was impossible. Only Marcus's car was in there and he was disabled. Curiosity got the better of her. She quietly opened the garage door just a crack and saw something that made her heart stop and her world crumble. Marcus Chen was standing. Not just standing, he was walking, pacing back and forth energetically, talking animatedly on his phone about quarterly projections and merger strategies. His wheelchair sat empty 15 feet away, looking abandoned. Sarah's first instinct was to run, to pretend she never saw anything. But she couldn't move. She watched this man she'd felt sorry for, this icon she'd admired, completely shatter everything she believed about him. But here's where it gets interesting, and where Sarah's character reveals something beautiful about human nature. She didn't immediately expose him. She didn't call the media or post on social media. Instead, she did something that reveals the beautiful complexity of the human heart. She watched him for weeks. Every night around the same time, Marcus would finish his calls, walk to his car and drive away, completely unaware that someone was witnessing his secret. Sarah saw something nobody else did. She saw his relief. The way his shoulders relaxed when he thought nobody was watching. The way he stretched his back and moved freely, like a caged animal finally released. For the first time, Sarah understood that Marcus wasn't just a liar. He was a prisoner of his own deception. She saw him having panic attacks in that garage. She watched him cry from the stress of maintaining his lie. She witnessed him practicing his wheelchair transfers over and over, terrified of making a mistake that would expose him. Sarah realized that Marcus Chen, the most successful CEO in Silicon Valley, was actually one of the most miserable people she'd ever encountered. But she also wrestled with anger. Real disabled people struggled every day for recognition, funding, and basic respect. Marcus was stealing opportunities that should have gone to people who actually needed them. The internal conflict was tearing Sarah apart. Then came the company's biggest presentation of the year. Investors from around the world were there. The media was broadcasting live to millions. Marcus was about to announce Neuralink's revolutionary brain-computer interface that would change the tech industry forever. The presentation would determine if the company's valuation reached $5 billion. Sarah was scheduled to clean that conference room the next morning, but she decided to watch the presentation from the hallway. She wanted to see Marcus in his element, commanding, confident, inspiring. Despite everything, she was curious about the man behind the lie. The audience was captivated. Marcus's presentation was flawless. He spoke about overcoming adversity, about how his disability taught him to see technology differently, about building products that could help people like him achieve their dreams. Every word was a masterpiece of manipulation. Then, disaster struck in the most unexpected way. During the Q&A session, James Patterson, a 63-year-old investor from London, suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. Heart attack. The man was dying right there in front of hundreds of people. Everyone froze in panic. Security guards didn't know CPR. The company nurse was at lunch. Paramedics were at least 10 minutes away. James Patterson was going to die unless someone acted immediately. Without thinking, without remembering his performance, Marcus Chen made a choice that would change everything. He jumped up from his wheelchair and rushed to help. Not rolled, not wheeled, jumped up and ran. Marcus dropped to his knees beside the investor and immediately began CPR with the skill and confidence of someone who had taken advanced emergency medical training. He positioned James's airway, started chest compressions and coordinated rescue breathing. His movements were fluid, athletic, powerful. Nothing like someone who had been paralyzed for years. The room fell deadly silent, except for Marcus counting compressions. Every camera in the room was rolling. Hundreds of people witnessed it. Live streaming meant millions more saw it in real time. There was no explaining this away, no spinning it, no damage control possible. Marcus saved James Patterson's life, but destroyed his own in the process. Within 30 minutes, the footage was viral. Within 2 hours, stock prices crashed 67%. Within 6 hours, lawsuits were filed by investors, disability rights groups, and former employees. Within 12 hours, Marcus Chen became the most hated man in America. But Sarah saw something else in that moment of crisis. She saw a man who chose saving a life over protecting his lie. In that split second, when everything was on the line, Marcus revealed who he really was underneath all the deception. He was someone who would sacrifice everything to save a stranger. The scandal exploded across every media platform. Marcus's face was on every news channel, every website, every social media feed. The headlines were brutal. Fake disability CEO cons billions, and the most disgusting lie in business history. Protesters gathered outside Neuralink headquarters. Death threats poured in. Marcus couldn't leave his house without bodyguards. His reputation was destroyed beyond repair. But Sarah did something that shocked everyone, including herself. She reached out to him, not to blackmail him or expose more secrets, but to offer something Marcus hadn't received in years: genuine human understanding. Sarah sent him a simple email. "I saw you in the garage. I also saw you save that man's life. I'd like to understand why." Marcus was drowning in lawyers, reporters, and angry investors. This email from an unknown cleaning lady was the only message that wasn't filled with hatred or legal threats. They met at a small diner at 2 a.m. when Marcus could move around without being recognized. Sarah expected to meet a monster. Instead, she found a broken man who was drowning in the consequences of his choices. Through their conversations over several weeks, the real truth came out. Marcus had started the Disability Act after a real car accident left him temporarily in a wheelchair for 2 months. During that time, he noticed how differently people treated him. Investors who had previously dismissed his ideas suddenly found them brilliant. Competitors who had been ruthless became respectful and accommodating. The media that had ignored him started writing inspirational features. People saw his temporary wheelchair and assumed he had overcome tremendous adversity to build his company. They didn't know that Neuralink had been successful before his accident. They created a narrative that his disability was the source of his strength and vision. When Marcus recovered and could walk again, he couldn't bring himself to give up the advantage his perceived disability gave him. What started as a temporary medical situation became a permanent psychological trap. But there was something deeper, something Marcus had never admitted to anyone. His father had abandoned the family when Marcus was 12, calling him weak and worthless. His mother worked 3 jobs to support them, constantly telling Marcus he needed to be stronger, tougher, more successful than other kids just to survive. Marcus built his company partly to prove his worth, but he never felt worthy of his success. The wheelchair gave him a reason that people could accept. It made his achievements feel justified, earned through suffering rather than just intelligence and hard work. The fake disability was Marcus's way of giving himself permission to be successful without feeling like a fraud. Sarah helped Marcus understand something crucial. That would change everything. The same determination and intelligence that built his company was already inspiring. His real story. Growing up in poverty after his father left, working 3 jobs through college, sleeping in his car while building his first startup, nearly going bankrupt twice before Neuralink succeeded. That was already more compelling than any fictional disability. But Marcus had been so afraid of being seen as ordinary that he chose to be seen as extraordinary for the wrong reasons. Sarah showed him that authentic struggle is always more powerful than manufactured sympathy. But here's the twist that nobody, not even Sarah, saw coming. Marcus didn't just apologize and disappear like everyone expected. He didn't flee to some private island or hide behind lawyers. Instead, he did something that shocked the entire business world. He used his remaining fortune to create the largest scholarship fund for disabled entrepreneurs in history. Not as a publicity stunt or legal strategy, but as genuine atonement for the communities he had exploited. The Marcus Chen Foundation started with $1.2 billion, nearly everything he had left after the lawsuits and stock crash. But Marcus didn't just write a check and walk away. He spent 2 years learning about the real challenges disabled entrepreneurs face. He partnered with authentic disability advocates like Dr. Maria Santos, who had built 3 successful companies while managing multiple sclerosis. He hired consultants who were actually disabled, paying them consultant rates rather than charity wages. He visited rehabilitation centers, attended accessibility conferences, and learned about assistive technologies from the people who actually use them. Marcus discovered that real disabled entrepreneurs face barriers he had never imagined. Getting funding is 340% harder. Finding accessible office spaces is nearly impossible in most cities. Networking events rarely accommodate different communication needs. Even basic business tools like websites and software often aren't designed for disabled users. The foundation didn't just give money, it built infrastructure. They created the first fully accessible startup incubator in the country. They developed funding programs specifically for disabled-owned businesses. They built mentorship networks, connecting successful disabled entrepreneurs with newcomers. They even lobbied for policy changes that removed systemic barriers to disabled business ownership. The results were incredible. Within 3 years, the foundation had helped over 5,000 disabled entrepreneurs start their own businesses. The success rate was 340% higher than traditional startup incubation programs. These weren't charity cases. They were brilliant business owners who had been overlooked by a system that couldn't see past their disabilities. Companies founded through Marcus's program generated over $800 million in revenue and created 15,000 jobs. The economic impact was larger than many Fortune 500 companies, and Sarah, Marcus offered her a full-ride scholarship to complete her computer science degree at Stanford, plus a leadership position at the foundation. But more importantly, he offered her something money can't buy: proof that one person's courage to see beyond surface deceptions can change everything. Sarah became the foundation's director of authentic outreach, helping other disabled entrepreneurs tell their real stories without needing to manufacture inspiration for others' comfort. But the most surprising transformation happened to Marcus himself. Today, Marcus Chen is building his second billion-dollar company. This time, his success is built on truth, authentic relationships, and technology that actually serves disabled communities. His new company, Access Tech Solutions, develops AI-powered tools that make digital spaces truly accessible. The scandal that should have ended his career became the catalyst for his greatest achievement. Marcus's story reveals something profound about human nature and the price of living lies. We're so hungry for inspiring narratives that we sometimes forget to look deeper. We want heroes who overcome impossible odds, but we don't always question whether those odds were real. His deception was wrong, inexcusable, and harmful to real disabled entrepreneurs who struggle every day for recognition and funding. It perpetuated harmful stereotypes and stole opportunities from people who desperately needed them. But his response to being caught, that reveals the character he had buried underneath years of lies. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen when our worst decisions collide with our deepest values. Marcus's moment of crisis, when he chose to save James Patterson's life over protecting his secret, showed that somewhere inside his web of deception lived a person capable of genuine heroism. Sarah Martinez proved that one person with moral courage and compassion can change the trajectory of someone's entire life. She saw past the lie to the human being trapped inside his own deception. She offered understanding when the whole world offered only hatred. Their unlikely friendship shows us that redemption is possible, but only when someone is willing to face their truth and use their privilege to lift up the people they've harmed. Marcus will never fully escape the consequences of his deception, and he shouldn't, but he's spending the rest of his life trying to repair the damage and create opportunities for the communities he exploited. If this story opened your eyes to the complex psychology behind public deceptions, the power of authentic human connection, and how one moment of moral courage can change everything, hit that subscribe button for more shocking stories about truth, lies, and unexpected redemption. And click on the video I'm showing you now to discover another incredible tale that will completely change how you see success, authenticity, and the price we pay for living other people's expectations.